On the 7th of March, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the Kashmir Valley for the first time since the revocation of Article 370. From Srinagar, he sent a resounding message to the world. What he said epitomizes the spirit of New India. He said, and I'm quoting, "This is the new Jammu and Kashmir for which we have waited for many decades." Indeed, this is New India's New Kashmir, and New India has grand plans for New Kashmir. Plans to make it more democratic, prosperous and equitable. Well, today the Indian government is taking steps to steer Kashmir towards achieving these goals. The first step involves making Kashmir more democratic. In fact, on Tuesday, the Home Minister of India, Amit Shah, made major announcements regarding Jammu and Kashmir. He said that the assembly elections in the Union Territory would be held before September. This move is aimed at fulfilling Prime Minister Narendra Modi's promise of making Kashmir more democratic. He emphasized that this democracy will not be limited to a few families and will instead be a people's democracy. This is direct criticism of dynastic politics and the exploitation of the resources by the self-serving political elite. The last elected government of BJP and PDP collapsed in 2018 after the BJP withdrew from the alliance with the PDP, citing worsening security situation in the erstwhile state. Fast forward to 2023. The Supreme Court upheld the revocation of Article 370 and ordered the Election Commission of India to conduct elections in Jammu and Kashmir by September 2024. The poll panel recently announced the dates for the national elections and confirmed that assembly polls in Jammu and Kashmir will take place soon. The next step on the government's new Kashmir agenda would be to make it more prosperous. Thanks to a massive drop in terror cases, the government is now planning to revoke a law that gave special powers to the security forces stationed in Jammu and Kashmir. Amit Shah has said that the Indian government will soon consider revoking the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, called AFSPA, 34 years after it was implemented in Jammu and Kashmir. The law, by the way, has been a bone of contention for a long time. It basically gave special powers to the armed forces battling militancy in the valley. And now the Indian minister has said that the central government would consider revoking the law. The Home Minister said, and I'm quoting, "We will also think of revoking AFSPA." In fact, speaking to an Indian news agency, Amit Shah said that the government was planning to pull back troops from the Union Territory. He said that law and order would be left to the Jammu and Kashmir police to handle alone. Now, this is big. It's a step towards a new Kashmir. You see, AFSPA, which granted special powers to security forces, was first enacted in Jammu and Kashmir during a time of unrest in the region. The law allowed the armed forces personnel to search, arrest and even use firearms if necessary for the maintenance of public order in disturbed areas. Currently, the Armed Forces Special Powers Act is still in effect in Jammu and Kashmir, although it has been removed in 70% of the areas in the northeastern states. The revocation of AFSPA will lead to a new confirmed stature of Jammu and Kashmir on the global stage as a peaceful region. Its removal would script a new chapter in the history of the valley, once considered a hotspot for Pakistan-sponsored terrorism. Despite Pakistan's efforts to destabilize the region, the government has been able to improve the overall security situation in the valley, and a lot has been achieved in this regard. Stone pelting incidents have been reduced, and there has also been a sharp decline in terror incidents. According to the Home Minister, Amit Shah's statement, in December 2023, there has been a 70% decline in incidents of terrorism. Not just that, Jammu and Kashmir has also seen a 72% drop in deaths of civilians due to terrorism. Since 2022, the Jammu and Kashmir administration has been collating data on law and order, including incidents of stone pelting. While in 2010, There were over 2,000 incidents of stone pelting. In 2023, there was 0 incidents of stone pelting. All thanks to India's action against Hurriyat leaders, the crackdown on terror funding and terror financing. Not just that, it's almost after 3 decades that schools in Jammu and Kashmir are functioning without being forced to shut down due to the hartal calls by the separatist groups. You can move around the Union territory without the fear of being caught in stone pelting. That era of closures, curfews, fear is slowly but surely fading away. You see, the situation in Kashmir was created by Pakistan's support to terrorism. No matter what Islamabad tells the world, Pakistan's support to cross-border terrorism was not only a bid to unilaterally change the status quo on the ground, but also undermine India's secular fabric. Forget fixing its own house. The neighbor has always been busy providing safe haven to terrorists and trying to dismantle peace in the Kashmir Valley. But new India is having no more of that. The progress being made in Jammu and Kashmir is a slap in the face to Pakistan's efforts. All these years of exporting terror, what did it get them? An economy in tatters, a society in peril, rise in terrorism, all troubles of its own making. Animosity with India has cost Pakistan dearly, and now there is an admission of guilt in Pakistan. A minister of Pakistan's newly formed government is pushing for normalizing ties with India, indicating a potential shift in diplomatic stance. The Pakistan foreign minister has said that Islamabad will seriously consider restoring trade ties with India. It has been suspended since August 2019. According to Pakistan media reports, the minister said, and I'm quoting, "We will seriously look into matters of trade with India." Not just the foreign minister, by the way, the federal minister for maritime affairs, Kaisar Ahmad Sheikh, also talked about the pressure that the Pakistan government is facing from businesses in the country to resume trade with India. Even former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has on numerous occasions pushed for better ties with India. Pakistan, which downgraded its diplomatic ties with India after the Indian Parliament's abrogation of Article 370, has been struggling to pay back its external debts due to slower economic growth and a lack of new investments. In short, basically, Pakistan shot itself in the foot with its own policies. Now, that is the reality of Pakistan. But what is India's stand? India has time and again reminded Pakistan Jammu and Kashmir is an integral and inalienable part of India. So in a nutshell, India's position is very clear and not changing. Talks and terror cannot go hand in hand. And that is new India's new Kashmir. Just last night, I told you about the man who changed his name to literally anybody else, just to express his frustration and dissatisfaction with the US presidential candidates. I also told you that the man had a point. And what has happened in the last 24 hours just proves this further. While talking about the Baltimore bridge collapse, President Joe Biden goofed up. Listen in to what he said first.
At about 1:30, container ship struck the Francis Scott Key Bridge, which I've been over many, many times commuting from the state of Delaware either on a train or by car.
Let me repeat that for you. Joe Biden claimed that he had been on the bridge via train. But here's the thing. The Francis Scott Key Bridge has never had any railway tracks. So just how did he take a train on the bridge? Well, it's something that only he can explain. And maybe he should, because questions are once again being raised about his mental fitness. Let me show you what netizens are saying. Podcast host Chad Prather tweeted that this was just another example of his mental derailment. You have to appreciate the play on words here. Biden did go off the track with his remarks, pun intended. Commentator and media critic Ian Miles Cheong went so far as to say that President Biden has dementia.
By car. At about 1:30, container ship struck the Francis Scott Key Bridge, which I've been over many, many times commuting from the state of Delaware in our train or by car.
In fact, another user said that Biden was simply lying and just trying to insert himself into the situation. But it did not go as planned. Could that be the case? Because there have been instances when Biden has made tall claims, claims that are sometimes difficult to believe, and many of them, in fact, have been related to disasters, such as the bridge collapse. For example, Biden has claimed that he was at ground zero the day after the September 11 terror attacks. But according to his own book, he was in Washington, D.C. So which version are we really supposed to believe? Another time, he claimed to have watched a Pittsburgh bridge collapse, but in fact, he visited the disaster site hours later. Well, after the bridge had fallen. One time, Biden shared another anecdote saying that his grandfather had died in the same hospital as he was born in just 6 days later. He was referring to a hospital in Scranton, Pennsylvania, but that did not quite add up. One of his grandfathers had died in Baltimore a year before Biden was born. And the other one, who did pass away in Scranton, died when Biden was 14. So who was Biden referring to in his anecdote is the question. It's a mystery only he can solve because it is beyond the rest of us. And I can't just go on and on with these anecdotes. Biden has a saying, it seems, for inserting these stories in his speeches, but he fails to see the obvious loopholes, which, unfortunately, his audience is very quick to pick on and detect. If you want to cook up stories, at least be smart about it. Otherwise, you'll just be trolled over your mental stability. Isn't running for president at 81 already tricky enough? The gaffes are only proving the voter skepticism to be true. Maybe it's better to simply stick to the script for him. And who do the American voters choose if not Joe Biden? Donald Trump, the one who wants to make America great again? And how exactly does he plan on doing that? By making America pray again. That is by selling Bibles. Listen to this for yourself.
To get this Bible, we must make America pray again. Pray, get educated, get motivated, and stand with me and the legions of Americans asking God to bless our great nation, to bring our great nation back, and to make America great again.
Trump's venture is in partnership with country singer Greenwood, whose signature tune is played at Trump rallies. The website is titled, God Bless the USA Bible. Trump, in fact, is selling each copy for $60, and this does not include taxes or shipping charges. At any other store or website, you can get a Bible for between $10 and $20. But Trump's Bible is no ordinary one. It contains a handwritten version of the chorus of Mr. Greenwood's song and copies of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and the Pledge of Allegiance. Does the business have any link with politics? The website claims it does not. It also says that none of the funds, not any of the funds, will go to Trump's election campaign. But given Trump's history with the law and the multiple criminal and civil cases that he is facing, would you like to believe these claims is the question. Western media reports say Trump will be getting royalties from the Bible sale, and it's not just the money. The Bible sale also aligns with Trump's campaign as he runs for president this year. Donald Trump, remember, has framed his campaign as a crusade to defend Christian values from the left. And what better way to do that than selling Bibles, perhaps? So who would Americans pick again is the question. Someone who is going off the tracks, or someone who is facing these accusations and facing cases, and now seems to be covering his tracks by selling Bibles. Meanwhile, in Gaza, tragedy continues. Airdrops, which are supposed to bring relief to Gazans, are resulting in deaths. It's a nightmare, to say the least. At least 5 people were killed, 10 others injured, when air-dropped aid packages fell on them. This was in the Al-Shati camp west of Gaza City. Eyewitnesses say that they saw the aid packages falling from planes, but cannot confirm which country was behind the airdrop. This is the latest, by the way, in a string of incidents involving deaths during aid deliveries in Gaza, where some people are foraging for weeds to eat and baking barely edible bread from animal feed. Early this week, at least 12 Palestinians drowned off the northern Gaza coast near Beit Lahia while trying to reach airdropped parcels that had landed in the sea. Footage shows hundreds of Palestinians rushing to the site of the airdrop, with some venturing into the water. The aid was dropped far from the coast into the sea. To retrieve this much aid, multiple men who don't even know how to swim ventured out to the sea, drowning in the process. This is the tragedy of Gaza today. Starved, shelterless, and desperate. Civilians are struggling every day to find food in Gaza. Aid agencies say only about a fifth of the required supplies are being allowed into Gaza. Only a fifth. Why is that, you may be asking? It's because Israel, apart from pushing ahead with its offensive, is also blocking aid to Gaza. There is an aid delivery crisis. The UN Secretary General has urged Israel to give an ironclad commitment for unfettered aid access into Gaza. Guterres also described the number of trucks blocked at the border as a moral outrage. But Israel says that it puts no limit on the amount of humanitarian aid entering Gaza. Now, despite what Israel says, distribution of aid inside Gaza has been complicated, and this is particularly the case in the north. Remember, last month, health authorities in Gaza said Israeli troops killed more than 100 people who were trying to take aid from a convoy. Israel's military has disputed that account. They blame it on the people. And what's more, Israel has also banned the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees. It is the main UN agency working in Gaza. Israel has blocked it from carrying out aid deliveries in North Gaza. Israel accuses this UN agency of working with Hamas. The agency denies it is complicit with Hamas, of course, and is waiting the results of the investigation into its handling of the accusations, which have led some donors to pause funding. The UN Humanitarian Office has urged Israel to revoke the ban, but so far its appeals to Israel have fallen on deaf ears.